Anyway, we're now recording,
Yeah,
so we'll do the hello. We'll do the hellos again for appearance's sake. Hello, Caspar, or should I reveal to the world, if they didn't already know, that is in fact Tom. So that is your alter ego, right?
but for these purposes, I'm Caspar. Yeah.
You're Caspar. Okay, right. Okay. Well, good then. So thank you again for taking the time. Much appreciated. It's great to speak to
Thanks
you
for having me.
at last. You're very welcome.
Well, I like your shelves in the background there. Lots of
Thank you. Well, actually, they're brand new. These shelves. I put them up only yesterday. I had some like plywood strips, which were like the width of an A format paperback, so they would fit on.
Yeah.
I just ran out of space, so I've got a bunch of IKEA shelves. So, actually, since you mentioned it, so that's the rest of my
Oh, it looks good. Yeah.
my library there. Yeah. So it's like my library is a rather grand name for my spare room.
My
anyway.
shelves aren't ready, so I've just got the back end of my conservatory. So yeah.
Yeah, nice, jolly good. So I suppose that being the proverbial elephant in the room, I suppose I should ask, what
I don't think it's a very big elephant. It's one of those pigmy elephants you find
small
on
one, yeah,
islands, you know.
like a prehistoric pachyderm, yeah, small one.
Yeah. It's
Right.
not. It's more of like a pig of some kind. Not even
A possum.
yeah, a shrew. A shrew.
Yeah, okay, all right. So I'm beginning to see where the range of creatures in some of your writing comes from. But all right, so the shrew in the room then. I guess people might wonder why, at least for the purposes of this book and perhaps any that follow, have you chosen to go under the name of Caspar Gion? And then I have a follow-up question about where that name has come from. Like, did you pick it out of a hat or a random name generator? Where did that come from?
Well, the first question. So I'd written the Amaranthine Spectrum. I'd done a few other books, novellas, stories, etc. There we go. Yeah. In order to write what I really, really wanted to write, which was this sort of thing, I had to change my name. It was the only way the publisher would take a punt on it, you know. And I'm fine with that. Quite happy. You know, Gion is now my extra galactic and interdimensional arm of my publishing. So
the publishing empire, yeah.
So I thought it was worth it. I was quite happy. I think Caspar Johnson's better than Tom Toner anyway, so that's fine.
And how did you arrive at the name?
Well, it was a funny one. There was originally, and there still kind of is, something in the universe called the Gion. But I don't actually go into it anymore in the first book. Caspar I took from the old Persian for treasurer. So I was the treasurer of the Gion. And you'll find out in perhaps multiple future books, if I live that long, what the Gion is.
Okay. So that's in your new universe, not the old one. Is that right?
In the galaxy of Yoka's Depth, and the interconnected galaxies of the Others.
Okay, all right, which we will get into. So I guess did the name change at all change the way that you wrote, or is it an entirely practical thing? Did you like don a new persona for your writing this time around? No, not at all.
No, well, I hadn't written I hadn't written a large space opera novel since 2018, which is when I finished Trilogy of Eternity. And this book wasn't actually completed until this year, because I kept rewriting it. I sort of phase shifted to just the new writer that I am, which I suppose would happen to anyone. I think I've become a lot more concise. My books get a lot shorter. I mean, maybe in 10 or 20 years they'll be about this thick, you know. Just either I'm getting lazy, or I think I'm getting more able to describe a scene without filling up with nonsense, you know. I'm not sure.
Well, it is a journey. Well, I should. I think, for the sake of comparison, we'll actually talk about the book in a second. But that's the first of the Amaranthine Spectrum, Promise of the Child, and that's the new one, The Immeasurable Heaven.
Promise of the Child is very waffly. Very, very
Yeah,
waffly.
it's probably twice the length.
I wrote it when I was 24. Very waffly. Well, a very waffly age, 24. I think I'm
Well,
now getting on
you,
towards 40, almost 40. So
you wrote
yeah,
an infinitely greater number of books at that age than I did, so it's all good. Yes, so we should make it clear to everyone. So the book that we're actually referring to is The Immeasurable Heaven, which is by Caspar John, who you can see before you, and for the folks that are watching. And this is out in the UK in a couple of weeks' time. I think it's around the middle of July, 15th, 17th.
yeah.
We're not 100% sure. I'll
Between
put it on the screen.
there is a sort of indeterminate time between the 15th and 17th when it might perhaps or not be available.
And what about quite a lot of my punters that are in the US? So what's the story with the US? Will there be a US release?
I believe it's exactly the same time.
Same time. Okay, so you should be able to get this in all good bookstores or on interweb, wherever you're in the UK or the US or elsewhere probably. All right, so let's talk a little bit about. So I have read this. You were kind enough to send me an advanced copy. Your very self, which is much appreciated. So why don't you give folks like a brief overview of the book and like what's going on, big picture in The Immeasurable Heaven.
Ooh, the elevator pitch. The elevator pitch is very tricky for this one. So, oh, is that a whiskey?
It's no, I'm not in the habit of drinking half pints of whiskey. No, it's a beer.
Oh, right, okay. I thought, oh no, I should have had a whiskey. 3 million years ago, in a very, very, very distant galaxy, called the Occam's Depth, which has been long settled by
Did you have to pay tribute to George Lucas, to borrow the phrase, in a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away?
Well, I mean, all galaxies.
That's very true. Yes, that is true.
Yeah,
it's a physical fact.
I don't know. Maybe at some point I'll have to pay him some money, but only if it looks too well. In which case, it's win-win. The Throlken, which are machine gods, the remnants of AI, have taken over the stars and ruled for approximately 300 million years. And in that time, they've managed to remake the galaxy in their image. They've managed to remake the Tree of Life in their image. They have. So all of life is sort of interbred originally from AI, and then has become chemical all over again. I wanted to come up with something that was so long in the tooth, a society that was so long in the tooth that it had sort of just become so muddied by time, and I really wanted to explore a civilization that was ungraspably ancient. Also was full of people still living their day-to-day lives, and creatures living their day-to-day lives. And so I think that was the kickoff point for it. I'd explored things of that nature in my third book, Tropic of Eternity, but I always felt like, oh, I shouldn't really delve too much into that, because I'll get told off by the publisher, or I'll get told off by my editor, or I don't know, I'll get told off on Goodreads. People on Goodreads, I noticed, started to really enjoy the bits that I liked the most, that I wanted to write about. So I thought, well, bugger it, I'll write a whole book about that and see what happens. And that's what I did over the course of 5 years or 6 years.
And this galaxy is so old that even the sort of interstellar medium isn't really a vacuum anymore. It's kind of just full of detritus and mucky bits and pieces after so many years of being, millions of years of being quite heavily populated, it seems, by quite an extraordinary array of very non-human creatures. And that's one of the things that I enjoyed about the book, is that you went to town on the variety of different creatures, and I was kind of curious to know, sort of, how does that process work? Do they kind of spring fully formed from your head, or do you have to kind of sweat it out to invent them?
Some of them go through some iterations, and I think, ooh, that's not quite right, or I'm not describing that right. In my head, they are quite vivid, but there's still enough blurriness for, I hope, the reader to be able to kind of come up with. I mean, I've done quite a lot of illustrations that I'm going to be sharing on my social stuff over the course of the next week. But yeah, I think we're Asimar, we're the main character, Drabel. They turned up quite fully formed to begin with, actually, which was strange. I'm not really sure why. when I write, I do a little doodles in the margins as I world build, and I sort of doodle around and try and decide what looks good in my mind, and also what looks kind of biologically plausible and interesting, just sort of a bit unusual. And so I've got a lot of tiny little weird inky doodles all over my notebooks. I mean, they look just so insane, my notebooks. And like it looks like I've taken loads of cocaine while I've been writing. So yeah, they sort of fleshed out gradually over time, but some came into being fully formed already.
There's some really lovely touches. I don't think it will spoil anything to say that one of the so Wira, she's going about her business, ultimately trying to stop the bad thing from happening. Maybe we'll talk about that in a minute. Her means of transport is rather unusual. If I remember rightly, it's sort of a giant alien living blimp with beg your pardon?
It's a pollen spore.
Pollen spore, that's right. Okay, yes, and of what must be quite an enormous tree, I imagine. But
yes, the Ingal tree,
yeah. But it has a multi-dimensional space in its innards, in which people are transported in something approaching I don't know about luxury exactly, but some comfort anyway. And and even inside its guts, there's an entire array of creatures just going from A to B at whatever speed this thing takes them, and even little people living in drawers and cupboards and things like that, which I thought was great. Not particularly central to the plot, but interesting kind of side details that really helped to flesh the thing out, I thought.
Well, I've taken a lot of megabus journeys in my life, and I always thought it might be fun to have the sort of interstellar version of the megabus. Just the sort of the really cheap transport service where nothing really works, and you get this really interesting sort of mixture of society on board, and the sporangiums of Ingal, which is what Numph is, were originally just cast around the galaxy, to deliver payloads of seeds, and that was how they evolved. And they gradually, over the course of however many millions of years, got the bright idea that they would, start selling tickets because they had all this vast space inside their stomach, subdimension inside their stomach.
And the pollen in this case is sentient, right? Because he's he's thinking, talking.
It evolved to be sentient, so that it could direct itself to where would be most useful to land. And we have also, I think we have in this one, I know I use them a lot in the next book, but we have sentient coral tubes that have evolved chemical rocketry to get from A to B. And, they have a pilot that sort of hinges out of the stomach of the hull and does all the stuff. But that is also just a sort of bud on the side of it, a sort of polyp. I don't know if I can't remember if I mentioned them in.
Well, maybe you did. I don't have perfect recall of it, but
no,
so let me just let's just set the scene a little bit. So in this, I don't think it's. I think it's probably on the back. Let me just check. Yeah. So you've got not content with sort of building out one quite richly described galaxy. I described it as not doubling down, but infiniting down to give yourself an even broader scope. And I, with the passing of a few weeks now, I forget exactly how you described it. But there are layers that you call phas layers in the book, but are they younger versions of the same galaxy, or are they younger alternate versions of the same galaxy? Like what's the deal, if you're able to say, of the different layers? What's going on there?
Well, the way I describe it at the beginning of the book is that they are like a dish of bacteria, but instead of multiplying just on a 2D surface, they're multiplying a 3D surface, and each newer reality bears some similarity to the other, but is essentially very different.
It's a do-over, right?
Yeah, and it gets more different. It gets more different the further away the cousin phas layers diverge, etc.
And there's some really nice touches, like a being can go from a higher layer to a lower one, and but not the other way around. And if you get dropped suddenly from one to another, then you're likely to appear in a completely different body, because your original body form doesn't exist, presumably, in this alternate version of the universe. So there's yet another kind of layer of weirdness and
I imagine it like you do burst the membrane, but there's another membrane as well. So what you're doing is imagine you're sticking your hand through a balloon. Really, you're just clothing yourself in this other body, but also it is also sort of subtly affecting the brain chemistry, because inward and out, the phas layer thinks that you are three-dimensional, and so your brain chemistry is altered because you are having a different brain, but it's sort of strange, sort of multi-dimensional, whether the phas layer kind of can't quite work out why you should be there, and it needs to sort of correct itself.
I wouldn't dream of being negative about your previous books, but one of the things that I personally...
It's all right. I'm very negative about my previous books. That's fine.
Yeah, well, no, I did. So firstly, let me say I enjoyed them. I actually only read the first two so far. The third one's still sitting on my long range.
You might like the third one more, actually, because it's more like the Immeasurable Heaven.
Okay, all right, good to know. There was a similar amount of things going on and lots of interest on every page, but I struggled more to follow what was actually happening. I was too distracted by
characters. Yeah, there was a huge cast.
There was a lot going on. Yeah, which was there's joy to be had in that. But I did find in this one that you had all of the good parts, if you like, of that, in that there were lots of interesting things going on, and on pretty much every page there was something to distract the eye, if that's the right phrase. But there's very definitely a story, and the plot threads kind of converge together neatly at the end, and it does tie up pretty neatly in this one book as well. I felt so. You've hinted that there are there's at least one more in you set in this universe, and so will that be? Is that a completely different story in that setting? It's different characters, different tale, different. Okay.
The next one is set in a previous age of the Throlkins, so quite a bit earlier, but is in Jokkon's depth, and I'm not sure how much I can say about it, but lots of fun. I'm really enjoying it. It's completely different beings involved. I have the notes ready for a third, which is also very different, but also set in Jokkon's depth, and I can't say anything about that because
no, quite right. Okay, well, good to know. Certainly, as I think I said the other day, I love the setting, and I'll certainly be keen to read any more that show up that are set in the same setting. So long may it continue.
Well, it's only half done, the second one, but it's been working on it for 2 years already, and it's only half done. So hopefully it'll speed up the process a bit. Yeah.
So I suppose I'm just being completely nosy, and you can tell me to bugger off my own business, and we'll just edit it out. But what are you writing full time now? Do you have or do you have a day job that you're still tied to?
I'm a developmental editor and an editor on the side. And I teach creative writing.
Okay.
So I've just been doing workshops, world building workshops in London, and
that's right. I saw that. Yes, of course. Okay.
And I go through their manuscripts with them, and we have long chats, and I edit things. I've been doing it for years now, and I really enjoy it.
Good.
Anyone fancies some developmental editing, I'd be delighted to.
I once won a writing competition at school, aged about 11.
Good.
And I'm a published poet, by the way.
Oh right, excellent.
In the one poem, don't get carried away, 12 or 13, and it was published in the Inner London Education Authority book of probably rubbish school kids poetry.
What the book was called?
No, it might as well have been. That was his subtitle. I actually can't remember what it was called at all. But I did get to meet Lenny Henry. Is it Lenny Henry? Yeah, Lenny. Yeah, it must have been Lenny Henry, and so that's the closest I've got to any form of creative writing. I'm quite happy to just read it. Thanks very much. So talking of reading, were you much of a science fiction reader as a young'un?
No, I wasn't actually. No. My first encounter with it was Terry Pratchett,
Right.
and it was the covers that did it for me, because I loved art when I was a kid.
Yeah.
And I wasn't a huge reader when I was a kid. But the Terry Pratchett covers,
The
so
Josh
unusual.
Kirby.
The Josh Kirby covers were just so beautiful, and they showed you everything that happened in the book, and that you just thought, right, well, I can see from these covers all the amazing things that happen in this book. So I'm obviously going to read this book because it looks incredible. I would love to, if Josh Kirby was still alive, I would love a Josh Kirby cover for my books. But and I mean, I'd love to get big old paintings, prints of his paintings.
Yeah. So like a few quid, I think.
Yeah. But yeah, I read a lot of sort of things like Stephen King and things, and then someone bought me a friend of mine got me for my birthday, I think I was 14, Look to Windward by Ian Banks.
Oh, really? Okay.
That sort of cemented I knew I loved science fiction, but I didn't know how much I loved it until I read Look to Windward. I didn't understand Look to Windward because it's the 6th bloody culture novel along.
Yeah.
And I know you can technically read any of them.
Yeah, that's right.
You with Look to Windward, I think you need some grounding first before you get involved in that. So I went right back to the beginning to consider Phoebus, and and Look to Windward is still my favorite culture novel.
It's one of my favorites. I did a reread last year. I've read some of them 2 or 3 times, but some of them not for a long time. And I read them all last year, maybe a bit of the previous year as well, and it was so good giving them another read. And I was surprised to find that my favorite is Inversions, and it's hardly a culture novel at all. It's got barely any culture in it at all. It's kind of hinted at, and there's kind of oblique references to it.
That's one I've read the least, is Inversions. Yeah,
I really like it.
To read it again, yeah.
And then Matter is probably one of my other favorites, which is one of his more recent ones, but with the Shell World, Sir Salmon, I really love them. Yeah, they're a personal favorite. I didn't read those until I was properly an adult, because it sort of passed me by when they first came out. I read a lot of what would now be considered kind of very old classic stuff, but likes of Isaac Asimov and probably a bit of Arthur C. Clarke and Frank Herbert and all those guys, and they sort of stuck with me, and a bit of Stephen King too, and then I got lost for a while in sort of fantasy for a bit. That was my thing, and I picked up the sci-fi a bit later on. But anyway, enough about me. Look to Windward's a pretty good start if that's your first kind of.
I mean, I'd read some bits and bobs before that, but I think that was what made me realize, right, I want to read.
Yeah, you're in. Yeah, okay. Yeah.
Science fiction.
And what about now? Do you because I've spoken to a few authors like yourself, and then some are still voracious readers, and some like, no, fuck no, I can't read that because it would interfere with my creative process, and I might subliminally borrow things from other people's books.
I'm not worried about subliminally borrowing. I'm not worried about subliminally borrowing anything apart from stylistic tics. And that really does sort of color your thinking. I mean, I don't allow myself to read Jack Vance while I'm writing. It's hard because I love Jack Vance. I've got loads left to read, and because
I've only read one.
Oh yeah,
I've only read one Jack Vance. That was The Big Planet, which probably isn't a great example. But I've got like about 25 on my shelves.
Oh, you're in for a treat. They are extraordinary. They are absolutely wonderful. I think I reread The Dying Earth every year, the omnibus.
I've got books 2 and 3. I don't have the first one yet. I need to track it down.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, you've got Kugel's Saga, and then you've got the Rialto books after that. I find that his very, very early style can be. I'd much prefer his when he was in his 50s and 60s. But yeah, with Jack Vance, he's so stylistically unique that it can invade your thinking a bit when you're writing. So I try not to overdose on Vance, which I if I wasn't a writer, I would overdose on Vance. I would just read Vance all over and over again, all the time. But I'm not allowed to. Other books, not so much. I think if they're very sort of stylistically pungent, then it sort of leaches into your writing.
So is there anything that you're currently that's floating your boat that's out there, recent or otherwise, that isn't Jack Vance, that you're
I'm rereading, because it's a lovely warm summer. I'm rereading the books of Earthsea, Ursula Le Guin.
Oh yes,
I love them, absolutely love them. And I need to diversify, because I've only read a very, very small amount of her science fiction. But if Earthsea is anything to go by, then I mean, I always hear such good things about Hand of Darkness and stuff like that, and so I am really looking forward to them.
I'm similarly poorly read in the Le Guin stakes. I think I've read the Earthsea books, and there's at least 2 that follow the original trilogy now. That are worth reading as well. I mean, the original 3 are probably the best, but
I've got the other one, Quartet, but then apparently there are some shorter ones that come after that.
There's a very recent, well, quite recent one that came out in the early 2000s. The name of which escapes me.
Do you arrange your shelves the alphabet?
No, I just happen to know where that one is. It's absolute chaos. So my mass market paperbacks, these guys are alphabetical, kind of.
Right.
Everything else is wherever I can fit it in, because they do insist on making books different heights, and that makes kind of shelving them quite challenging. So I kind of just fit them in. I do need to have, now that I've got the new shelves, I can do a bit of a reorganization, and I might be able to restore some order. The worst thing is, if I move them around too much, then I lose track of where things are, because I'm quite good at remembering. My spatial awareness is pretty good. So yeah, I think it's called The Other Wind is the one that follows Tahanu. Tahanu is the 4th one.
Yeah, and, I got up to Tahanu. Yeah,
this reminds me of the Vic and Bob show, where they had the dove from above. I think they used to say Iranu before.
Iranu, yeah, and
Uvavu. That's it. Yeah, Tahanu. I say it in the same voice whenever I see it. And there is a short story collection as well, which I can't quite put my finger on at the moment. There it is. Called Tales. Tales creatively enough. Tales from Earthsea. That exists too. But yeah, the only other one of hers that I've read, I think, is The Dispossessed. So I've got
on my list. Yeah,
it's pretty good. And then I've got a nice fancy broken binding edition of Left Hand of Darkness winging its way to me right now, which I wish I could read.
Nice. Is it illustrated?
I don't know, actually. They don't tend to go like, then it's not like folio where they kind of like go to town on the color illustrations. It's not that fancy, but they'll have it'll probably have custom art on the boards and on the end papers, and then they might have some like black and white section or chapter heading illustrations inside, and they probably will provide a couple of different alternate dust jackets as well. So they're quite nice. They're not folio level nice, but they are quite nice. So yeah, so I'm not widely read in the Le Guin stakes either.
Yeah, no, I want to rectify that this year, and I also I've been dipping back into Robert Silverberg, the Magic.
Bob, yes.
And I love those, and I need to.
Did you say Magipur? Yeah.
And I want to read all of those again, and get to the end of them, because I lost. I think I threw one away because it got covered in what I was worried was asbestos. It's just logged in the bin, and so I'm really upset that I logged it in the bin, because I wanted to read it, so I have to reorder it.
Yeah, I've only read Lord Valentine's Castle, which I loved. That was one of my favourite books of last year or the year before. I can't remember when I read it, but that I've read, but I haven't read on. I've got a bunch of them.
It was the next one that I was worried was covered in asbestos, so I threw that away. So I need to get that again, and
because the next one's, is it Magipur Chronicles? I think that's the short stories, isn't it? And then you've got Valentine Pontifex is the third one. Yeah,
that was the one. That was the asbestos one.
I think that's the order they go in. And then there's another trilogy that follows that's kind of set either way before or way after. I forget which way around it is, but I haven't read those either yet.
Yeah, no. So I've got to read all of those. I'm looking forward to that. And I've been seeing a lot of. I like to go to charity shops, and I see a lot of David Brin, and I'm really interested in the uplift books. I think they look great, so I want to read those.
I'm told that the first one, Sundiver,
I've heard this. The second one is the one to start with.
The second one's the one to start with. Yeah, so that's probably what I'll do when I get to it eventually. Did a collaboration with Gregory Benford. How was it called? In the Heart of the Comet, which was sort of fairly hopeless science mission to Halley's Comet, and then they got stranded and they have to exist on this comet where there might or might not be life. So it's actually pretty good.
All right.
Definitely worth a read.
Okay.
But yeah, there's another author I haven't read enough of. I'm playing catch up. I kind of often say this when I'm talking to people like yourself. I've been doing this YouTube thing for a couple of years now, and the thing that continues to amaze me is that I thought I was pretty well read in science fiction terms before I started this, but it's clearly not true. I'm amazed by coming across authors that I've never heard of, never mind read anything by. Actually, I'll confess Robert Silverberg was in that category, very much firmly a favourite now, but 2.5 years ago I'd never heard of him. So just because it's easily done.
Yeah. Well, there's so many bloody authors, aren't there? I mean, it's just you could be playing catch up till I die. That's all I'm going to be doing.
Well, I think that's it. I mean, we're what? I mean, okay, there are outliers previous to this, but we're like 100 years into science fiction now, and there's an awful lot of it to read, and I guess finding the sieving the gold out from the silt is the challenge.
But sometimes I think, oh, that's wonderful, that's great. There's so much to read. There's more that I can read in a lifetime, and then other times it just depresses me. Yeah.
I'm doing a bit of a tour. I just finished Beggars in Spain by Nancy Kress, which is fantastic. Actually, I really recommend it. There's a genetic modification which effectively means that people that get it don't need sleep. So we sort of erased sleep from the human need, and then there's only a relatively small group of people like this, and then there's a whole kind of envy thing, and the sleepless are like the new minority, and they're abused and what have you, but ultimately prevail, and then it goes a bit south for them in other ways. But it'd be really, really good, very interesting. Lots of even though it was written in like the mid 90s, there's lots of echoes now in the headlines, unfortunately. But yeah, very good. I really enjoyed it. That's my favorite recent read. I think probably from the last few weeks.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Present company accepted.
Oh, thank you. I've been reading Ten Low by Stark Holden, which has some really, really interesting aliens, and I'm not going to talk about them, but
I don't know that book.
I think they're quite unique. Yeah, I won't tell anyone what they are. Just buy Ten Low. They're very interesting.
Yeah. Who's that by? Sorry.
Stark Holden.
Okay. I'll put it on the screen when it goes out. So because I'm curious to know myself now. Okay, I'll look that up.
It's the first. I think it's the first of a trilogy, but I don't think they're. I think they're connected, or they're not connected. I'm not sure. Maybe it's not a trilogy, but anyway, it's the first of 3.
Right.
Yeah, and it's a sort of space western, not near future, nearish future space western. Yeah, it's good fun.
Okay, I should look out for that. So getting back to your rather inventive books, both the Amaranthine Spectrum and the new one are on an enormous canvas. They're like pan-galactic in the case of Immeasurable Heaven, and then not content with one galaxy, you've added a few more as well. What is it that attracts you to the big stage? What floats your boat about that?
Well, you've always got to make you've got to find that middle ground between the sort of intimacy of characters and on the stage they're on. No, I just think I'm addicted to it. I don't think I'm able to. I don't think I'm able to write on a smaller scale anymore. I've just become really weird, and I just love. I like boggling my own mind. It's almost like a sort of strange drug that I don't. It might actually have some side effects in that I'm just pickling my brain, trying to boggle myself, and sort of just entertain myself to the point where my brain just falls to bits. It is the size of the canvas that really does appeal to me. I mean, I think, with the Caspar thing, I was deliberately trying to do something I didn't think I could get published. I don't really know why I stuck at it so long if I didn't think I'd be able to get it published. I can't really remember what I was thinking.
Sheer bloody mindedness.
Yeah, but I was just enjoying it so much that I had no choice. I was enjoying boggling my own mind so much. I just had no choice. And it was just a sort of stroke of luck that it did get published, really. I mean, eventually Solaris decided they liked it, so that was good.
Well, I imagine, I mean, you can tell me whether this is true or not, that among the challenges of choosing to write in an entirely non-human setting is that much more difficult to write characters that we as humans have kind of empathy with. Did you have to work extra hard at that to have that kind of come out? Because you kind of do root for the characters that I imagine could easily have been kind of so alien that they didn't really register in that way.
So with alien behavior, you've got to build that up the way you build your world building. And with I really deliberately made the Immeasurable Heaven more of a sort of entry level book to Yoka's Depth. So I gave us a lot of the, I call them bipedal symmetrics, but they're essentially humanoid. I do use the word humanoid in the book, even though, and that
with
is
antlers,
and that is obviously just a kind of translator's term. Yeah, they are. I think they're quite understandable from a psychiatric perspective. Some of them, it was quite funny, involving things that I think I have a character that can't count more than three. Can't count to more than three for some evolutionary reason. And I've forgotten what the evolutionary reason is. I can't remember if I put it into the book. This is the problem I have as I get older. People ask me questions about the Amaranthine Spectrum, and I can't remember the answers because it's such a long time
ago now.
If I was ever going to write another book in those series, I'd have to go through and read the bloody things all over again and make loads of notes because I can't remember. Yes, we had so we had sort of strange evolutionary shortfalls. It's all about sort of the differences in perception really between species. So I think the Immeasurable Heaven is all about the sort of I mean, not to go into the end, but the limits of reality and the different realities that people perceive, and which is the correct reality, and is there a right answer? In the same way it goes into mortality. I think it delves really deeply into mortality more than anything I've ever written about. So I sort of boggled myself again then, but it was more to do with their perception than because their behavior is they're all thrown together on this journey. And their behavior has to sort of sync up with each other, and also the fact that they are, originally synced up as a sort of pan-galactic grouping because they're all evolved from the same place. They can all speak the same language, the Throlcan pattern, which it was devised by the Throlcan and can be spoken and understood by creatures that are even using strange patterns of tonal shifts on their fur or pheromones.
That's right, I'd forgotten that. Yes.
A sighted being that speaks by speech can still understand something flashing multiple colored dots because it's the Throlcan pattern. So actually, I think it'd be a lot harder if they were not all very, 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 very distantly related by 300 million years. And that is something I'm looking forward to do because I have some vague notes for one of the books set in one of the other galaxies in the Olus, which is nothing to do with the Throlcan. And that is going to be really fun. That's going to take a long time to write. I'm really looking forward to that because the notebooking stage, where you just fill a stack of notebooks with pen on paper when you world build. That's the stage I'm really, really addicted to. That's the stage where, that's my kind of
It's your fertile mind working overtime.
Well, I just love it. I absolutely love it. I enjoy it more than it's become my hobby, which is really sad. I just love doing it.
There are worse vices.
Yeah, yeah. Well, my wife probably doesn't think so. She gets a bit worried about me because I'll sort of step out into the road and I'll just zone out and one of my eyes will wander off in a different direction and I'll just be thinking about something else. And
You just had 5 ideas. Yeah.
She gets really upset with me. Because I'm away with the bloody fairies again.
I just to bring you back to the dimly remembered Amaranthine Spectrum. I'm sure I heard somewhere that you had originally planned it to be a longer series, and then kind of for commercial reasons, I guess, kind of stopped at 3. But as I haven't read the 3rd one yet, does it?
It doesn't just stop dead. I
was going to say, does it wraps up to a degree in the 3rd one? Yeah.
What I wanted to write and what I wanted to wrap up, and in a reasonable time. So I wasn't sort of rushing it to make it sort of work. I'm quite happy with how it ended. It's my favourite of the 3, definitely the 3rd one.
Okay.
There were lots of other threads going off, and I could carry them on if I wanted at some point. Maybe. I mean, it'd be nice, but at the same time, I don't know if I really want to because I have to read everything again. Like I said,
yeah.
I could probably do a prism novel, which might be fun, entirely about the prism. But that would be really fun to write. The prism. And I had a stack of notes for a prequel set 80 million years before about where Aaron the Long Life comes from.
Right.
So it's set in the Cretaceous period. And I think that, so I know exactly how all that goes down. And that was actually going to be the next one. And even my agent at the time said, I don't think we can do this. I don't think you can get away with this. There's no humans in it. And look, no humans.
Yeah. Well, things have moved on. I guess maybe we're more willing to imagine that now than we were before. I just remember the beginning of the first one, actually, Promise of the Child, because it starts in like 14th century Prague, if I remember rightly. Which when I first started it, I was thinking, what the hell's going on here? Is this a science fiction book or what? We're in a castle in Prague, I think
all of that upset a lot of reviewers and readers.
I wasn't upset. I was intrigued.
It starts in Prague. Yeah, that was fun. It goes all over the place. That series.
Yeah. It's you can still find it if you're watching this and intrigued. That's definitely worth a read. Although I will say I was a frequent referrer to the glossary.
No, that's good. I wanted to put the glossary in. Originally, it didn't have a glossary yet. It was,
I'd have been fucking hopeless if I hadn't had that. Yeah, and it really needed one. And it's quite a substantial glossary too. It's quite comprehensive. Yeah.
Yeah. Is it bigger glossary? I suppose it must be than the one in the Immeasurable Heaven. I can't remember. I have not compared the glossaries.
The girth of the glossary. Well, let's see.
We have a glossary off. I like writing glossaries as well because you don't have to think really too hard.
I read a book recently which did not have a glossary and would have benefited greatly from it, and that it was the Quantum Thief by
I've got
Ryan Amy.
I'd like to try it, but I think I read the first few pages and just completely bounced off it, which is.
I was worried that I might, and half the time I had no idea what the fuck was going on. But I went along for the ride, and I did enjoy the ride. Not dissimilar to your writing. Actually, there's an awful lot going on every page. I mean, it's completely different stylistically, I think, and it's much more sort of post-human and almost a little bit cyberpunky. But I was reading it and going, I don't know what that is, but it sounds really cool. And I had no idea who was working for who and what really was going on. I sort of half got it at the end, but it's the kind of thing that will definitely benefit from a reread, I think, at some point. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Well, I think I was quite wary of it because people I've heard a lot about how the author Hanu, I'm not sure how to pronounce his surname.
Ryan Amy, I think. Yeah.
Ryan Amy, is just very, very clever. I'm always very wary of books written by incredibly clever people because I just think I'm just too stupid to understand them.
Well, I would. So Greg Egan's a great example there. you might be familiar with his work, but he's an Aussie mathematician, and he's written a bunch of things. But Shield's Ladder is notoriously his least accessible work, and I was brave and tried it a couple of months ago. Man, that was hard work. I think I finished it. I don't think I DNF'd it. I don't DNF very many things, but that one I might have done. I have a degree in physics, and I didn't know what the hell was going on most of the time.
Oh right,
And,
okay,
yeah.
Wow. Okay,
And so if that's out there, the Quantum Thief is kind of down here. It's more interesting than difficult, I think.
Yeah.
Well, there were some interesting things going on in the Greg Egan book, but it was basically incomprehensible for quite a lot of it.
Wow. So even with a degree in physics, God.
Yeah, well, it's pretty dusty and old, and it wasn't a very good one, honestly. But still, that is the way my brain's sort of wired, and it didn't work for me at all, unfortunately. I read a couple of his other things which were fine. Quarantine is one of them, which was pretty good, but that had quite a bit of quantum mechanics in it. But no, so yeah, I'd definitely read it. If you've got a copy, grab it and give it another go. Right, well, Tom, I should probably let you go, as it's getting late, and I've got shelves to sort out. I'm sure you've got an evening to have. Thank you once again for taking the time. Let's just flash the book up. Okay, do my job properly here. So
it's really nice to meet you. Thank you.
Yeah, likewise. And this book is out imminently. By the time this video comes out, it will be out already. And so you should go find it. Thank you. Well, look, thank you, Caspar / Tom. Much appreciated, and best of luck with the book. I hope it goes well.
Thanks very much. Yeah, no, thanks a lot.